team or, running a business right now, you're probably being inundated with just one overwhelming message. Incorporate AI.
Oh, constantly. It's everywhere.
Exactly. And the promise is this huge transformation, but the reality for most organizations that actually dive in head first, it's just chaos.
Yeah.
It's tool fatigue and, surprisingly, not a lot of measurable return.
And that chaos, that's the signal that the implementation strategy itself is broken. Leaders are looking for these genuine structural gains, what we're going to call controlled leverage, but they're just hitting a wall of, well, implementation noise.
Right.
Our source material today, specifically the work around this 4A framework by J.D. Parashar, it offers a really critical antidote to that chaos.
It's a structured, non-chaotic approach, which is exactly what founders need. So instead of that typical sort of scattershot approach, this framework gives you a clear sequence: awareness, accessibility, and accountability.
The 4As.
The 4As. And our mission in this deep dive is to unpack this whole sequence, showing you not just what the steps are, but really how a founder can implement them to move from just, experimenting with AI to getting steady foundational business leverage.
So if you feel like your organization is just drowning in trial subscriptions and pilot projects that never quite take off, this discussion should give you the clarity to simplify your approach and focus on real outcomes.
Let's start right there then,
Yeah.
with the chaos. What is the fundamental mistake that consistently kills AI adoption inside these otherwise successful businesses?
It's the primary strategic mistake of breadth over depth.
Breadth over depth.
The sources are absolutely clear on this. Most teams, they're urged to move fast, right? So they immediately start listing 10, maybe 15 potential use cases.
It's HR, marketing, copy, you name it.
Right. And the framework's author is very explicit about this, saying, look, avoid that use AI everywhere mindset. You should be focusing on one and only one key performance indicator, a KPI that you really want to move dramatically.
Okay, that makes intuitive sense, but I have to push back on that a little bit. One single KPI. For a founder who's managing a really complex business, isn't focusing on just one area. Isn't that dangerously short-sighted? Especially when you think about how broad modern AI is.
It sounds like it, but it's not short-sighted. It's resource-aware. Think about it. When you're implementing a foundational technology that's going to change workflows across the entire organization, your capacity for change management is, well, it's finite.
Okay.
So focusing on a single high-leverage KPI, let's say, reducing time to first response for customer support, that lets you build a successful, repeatable model. Once that model is proven and the capability is actually integrated, then you can scale the process to a second KPI.
So you're building a playbook first.
You're building the playbook.
Yeah.
The goal is controlled leverage, and that demands precision, not just trying to do everything at once.
Controlled leverage. Let's anchor on that, because that is the ultimate goal here. Beyond just, say, reducing operating costs, what specific advantages are founders really looking for from this kind of focused adoption?
The framework targets 4 specific measurable outcomes that really define a successful integration. First, you get faster decisions, just getting relevant information synthesized instantly.
Right.
Second is better execution, moving ideas into action with higher quality, more consistency. Third is lower operating load, and that means a true reduction in manual effort, not just shifting work around.
Which is a common trap.
A very common trap. And finally, and maybe most importantly, higher trust.
Higher trust, internally and with customers.
Exactly. Both. We'll definitely come back to that one.
So if the organization can nail those 4 things, they've basically transitioned AI from just a tech experiment into a foundational part of the business. And the roadmap is this 4A framework.
Correct. It forces a methodical approach. Awareness has to come before access. Access then establishes the platform for ability. And finally, accountability locks the whole structure in, making sure the games are sustainable and, safe.
Okay, let's jump into that first step, the foundation of it all. A1, awareness. This isn't just knowing that ChatGPT exists, right? What level of clarity are we talking about here?
Oh, it's way beyond just tool recognition. Awareness requires defining the foundational reality inside your own organization. It means getting real clarity on what AI is genuinely good for, where it excels at prediction or synthesis or pattern recognition.
And crucially, what it's not good for.
Exactly, what it's not good for. Things like creative judgment or, complex long-term strategy. That's still human territory.
The source material has this fantastic line on this. It says, the real AI divide inside companies is clarity, not tools. That is a huge statement.
Yeah.
So how does a founder practically audit their own organization to check for that clarity?
It requires some internal mapping. Clarity means you need to understand the current shadow usage.
Shadow AI.
Yeah, your teams are already using AI. They're just using unapproved, unsanctioned tools they found online. A founder needs to identify where this is happening, catalog those use cases, and then figure out which ones are truly high leverage versus which are just, quick fix distractions.
So the goal of A1 is to replace anecdote and fear with documented reality and bounded potential. So what happens if we skip this and just jump straight to implementation? What's the consequence?
You build the wrong tool. Or you build the right tool for the wrong problem. Without that clarity, you're just installing complexity. If the team doesn't get the boundaries, they will over-rely on the AI for tasks it's just not good at, which leads to immediate failures in quality and completely undermines that goal of achieving higher trust.
So awareness defines the landscape. It prevents you from making costly mistakes later.
Precisely.
Okay, so once that internal landscape is mapped and we know why we're adopting,
Yeah.
we move to A2, access. Now, this sounds a bit like an IT problem, just give everyone a license. But in the 4A framework, what does effective access really entail?
Yeah, it's so much more than that. Access is about democratizing the tool's usage, making sure it's low friction and fully integrated into the existing daily environment. Simple tools and simple workflows they're non-negotiable.
Meaning, if it takes 3 steps to use it, it won't get used.
Exactly. If accessing the AI requires logging into a new third-party system, and then you have to manually copy-paste the output back into your CRM, the adoption will fail. You've just added complexity, not controlled leverage.
So if a team's using an AI writing assistant, effective access means that assistant is built directly into their email composer or their docs system. It's not sitting in another browser tab.
Precisely. It has to live where the work lives. The ultimate measure of successful access is reducing the cognitive load for the person using it. The tool should feel like an integrated feature, not some external application you have to go find.
And if founders treat it like an add-on, then the staff will too. They'll treat it as optional.
That's it. It has to be core to the workflow.
That transition is vital. So we've gone from understanding the concept, which is awareness, to ensuring the team has practical reach to the tools, which is access. And this sets the stage for actually developing the skills. So how does A3 ability differ from just, traditional employee training?
Ability is where the rubber really meets the road. It's the shift from theoretical potential to integrated performance. And skill acquisition here isn't about a single workshop. It's gained through consistent, measured practice. The framework draws a really critical distinction here between tactical training and strategic integration.
Okay, let's define that difference. The framework says focus on building repeatable workflows that match daily tasks, not just prompt tricks. Help us understand that distinction practically.
Okay, so prompt tricks are great for that initial exploration phase, but they're temporary. They are a means to get an answer today. A repeatable workflow, on the other hand, is a persistent operational change.
Can you give us a concrete example of that shift?
Sure, let's think about a sales team. A prompt trick is copying a customer note into a general LLM, asking it to summarize the key pain points, and then copying that summary back into your internal system.
Which is high friction, relies on memory.
Totally, high friction. A repeatable workflow, though, is integrating the LLM's API directly into the CRM's note-taking function. So when the sales rep types the conversation summary, the AI is instantaneously synthesizing the pain points and risk factors, flagging them automatically right there in the CRM entry before the rep even hits save.
Oh, I see.
The skill being built here is not how to ask the AI for a summary. The skill is how to interpret the AI's summary and decide on the next strategic action. The technology it disappears into the process, which allows the human ability to focus purely on value-added judgment. That's how you get faster execution and lower operating load.
That is a powerful differentiator. So ability is about restructuring your operational processes around AI capabilities, not just teaching people how to talk to a chatbot.
Exactly. If the integration doesn't change the daily operational rhythm, it hasn't created any real leverage. You've just added another cognitive step. Successful ability makes the hard parts of the job easier and faster.
Which brings us to A4, accountability. This step is labeled as non-negotiable, and it addresses the human element of ownership. When we democratize a powerful tool like this, we absolutely need guardrails. What does that mandatory human accountability look like in practice?
Accountability means accepting that AI is an amplifier, not an independent actor. Therefore, humans have to own the outcomes, period. This involves mandatory checks and responsibilities for things like privacy, mitigating potential bias, and most critically, quality checks.
A human in the loop.
Every time, every single AI-generated output that impacts a customer or a critical business function must have a human in the loop who is officially responsible for verifying its accuracy and, its appropriateness.
It sounds like the framework is insisting that that final layer of scrutiny has to remain firmly human. What happens if a founder tries to skip this step just to move faster?
They immediately sacrifice trust. If you're rushing to automate things like customer communication or complex financial reporting without human oversight, the inevitable errors, whether it's a factual mistake or some unforeseen bias, will just erode the faith your team and your customers have in the whole system.
And the framework explicitly links this back to one of the original goals.
Yes, it links this non-negotiable accountability directly back to achieving higher trust.
So A4 is like the quality assurance layer that lets the business maintain its legitimacy while still getting the speed benefits from A3.
That's the balance, exactly. Speed without scrutiny is just reckless. By setting clear standards, who reviews what, how often, what are the consequences for missed errors, you formalize the human ownership that is necessary for controlled leverage. It ensures that the organization, not the algorithm, stays in control of its own destiny.
This whole framework makes it so clear that adopting AI isn't just a technical purchase, it's a strategic business restructuring. It's a huge cultural shift. Which brings us to the broader implications. Who is AI really for in an organization?
Well, the source material really challenges that initial bias that AI is just for the engineering department. That perspective is, frankly, outdated. AI, especially generative AI, is fundamentally for people who want leverage.
Anyone who wants leverage.
Anyone. That includes sales, operations, marketing, finance. It is a democratized force multiplier.
And viewing this democratization as a positive strategic asset, not just a trend to follow, seems essential. So how does the 4A framework make sure that this democratization actually turns into a sustained business advantage?
By formalizing the process. If you follow the steps, you gain clarity, you provide low-friction access, you build those repeatable workflows, and you lock in accountability, you ensure that the technology isn't just used by a few tech-savvy enthusiasts.
Right.
Instead, it becomes interwoven into the core processes across all departments that are seeking that leverage.
So the 4A framework is essentially the mechanism. It's how organizations successfully move AI from being an emerging technology handled only by specialists to a foundational element that empowers every employee who's looking for a tactical advantage. This is the path to maximizing that controlled leverage we talked about.
Exactly. It systematizes the adoption. It makes sure that every incremental AI project contributes to those 4 key business outcomes we mentioned.
Yeah.
Faster decisions, better execution, lower operating load, and higher trust.
The beauty of this approach, for you, the learner, is just the sheer structural clarity. It gives you a clean mental model. You move from awareness, gaining that internal clarity on what it can and can't do to access, making sure it's low friction and integrated. Then you build ability through practical, repeatable workflows that change daily tasks, and you lock it all down with accountability, human ownership, and mandated quality checks.
So what does this all mean for a leader? It means you now have a concrete method to move past the anxiety of information overload and all those chaotic pilot projects. The 4A framework turns the fear of displacement, that fear that AI will replace human teams, into a predictable, manageable process where AI is used as a tool for vastly better execution.
That grounding in tangible business action is so crucial. We've covered the framework for adopting AI, but based on the direction of these shifts, the ultimate evolution of this knowledge might be, more profound than just implementation.
It is, I think it is. Most conversations today focus so heavily on the which tool, which platform, which model should we use. But as organizations internalize and master this 4A framework, the focus is inevitably going to shift.
Right. The future leader won't just use AI within their operational structure. They'll have to fundamentally think like AI. This shift from just adopting a tool to actually restructuring your own strategic decision-making process based on pattern recognition and deep data synthesis. That's the ultimate reflection to take from this deep dive. It suggests that success in the future will demand a kind of cognitive restructuring, something for you to mull over as you integrate those 4As into your own organization.